We are going to play a 10 minutes game with I am Jonas here. We're going to explain all of our thoughts so you can use exactly this strategy in your very next game to crush your chess opponent. Hi Jonas, let's start.
Hi.
Okay, let's play the Sicilian defense and yeah, let's try to create a crazy checkmate in attack, because every time I play the Sicilian, it's always crazy. What about you?
Yes, it's getting crazy often, but recently I also have started some more positional approaches, so we are gonna see if it's gonna be an open Sicilian or if we will do something different. And against e6 there are quite some options. I've played c3, I've played g3, and today I will go for the more positional approach with g3. The idea is just to develop quickly, get the king castled, and whenever black strikes in the center with d5, there would be the idea that you just take and then also open the center with d4 afterwards, and white is a bit more ready to do that, but that didn't happen. So after g6, it's usually an idea to think about onto d4, because this long diagonal is a bit vulnerable at times, but okay, I need to think about that. So if I go d4, black needs to take, I guess. And if I take, actually makes some sense. Maybe black doesn't have to take, but since d4, d5 might be coming, I think black needs to take. So another option would be to go c3 with the idea d4 to build a strong center, which looks also kind of promising. So already quite a tough choice. Both are looking interesting, and I should decide for one of them.
How do you decide that? It seems like it's two completely different plans, and how do you take that decision which one should be better for you?
In general, I think I would take some time, but not too much, because both are playable and you cannot spend all your time on that, because otherwise you're running out of time later. And yeah, you just need to do it by intuition. Maybe if you have prepared it, then you can rely on that, but okay, I haven't, so I cannot do that. So for now, I think I'm gonna go with e4.
Okay, so you do play some active moves here, not just waiting there passively, because that's the Sicilian. You have to be active, you have to create threats.
And now the main idea was that I jump knight b5, knight d6, but okay, the question is, does black have any good answer to this? Probably it's not such a big deal if my knight sits there, but anyway, I think the only way for an advantage is try to go to d6 with the knight, set up some blockade, and limit the black center.
I like it. It seems like you have set up a trap, because if I play d5, you can now take everything, sacrificing your queen, and in the end you're going to have that fork.
Yes.
That doesn't feel great. That means I cannot play d5, but then I don't like it, because the knight on d6 is very annoying.
Yes, okay. On the other hand, yeah, I think castle is a good move. And now, since black is no longer in this fork on c7, I should set up the blockade immediately, because otherwise black might go d5. And now, okay, black has a good development, but I have a good knight. So that's kind of the strategic battle which is now going to arise. I need to catch up in development a bit. And the question is how.
You are breaking that golden principle I always teach my viewers, like making just one move with one piece. You're making 4 moves with this knight in the first 8 moves maybe, and so that's a crazy strategy, but yeah, it has a huge advantage, because this knight is now limiting my whole potential here. But I want to play b6, and either you have to take and trade your perfect knight, and that would be 5 moves with the same piece, or I try to play around your knight and make it not that difficult for me.
Yes, that's right, but I'm not so sure if the bishop, where it's gonna go. Maybe a6, but if I put my pawn to c4, I think I might limit the bishop. But okay, there are some ideas how you can challenge my knight. Now I see maybe knight c8 coming, so I should take care about this one.
That would make sense, because I would only spend 2 tempi, and your knight has already moved 4 times, and if I can exchange it, it means I have just won a lot of time, which is great.
So I go knight c3, catching up in development a bit.
You want to support that with the second knight. far as I can see it. You can jump to b5, and then I have exchanged one knight, but the other one jumps. I'm curious what you want to do about the c4 pawn, because I really want to attack it, and I'm not sure how... It's also pinned. Not sure how you are supposed to defend it, so attack it. Because I'm kind of finished my development, my king is in the security, in the safety zone, so now I can just go all over your weaknesses and create some difficulties for you.
Yes, it's maybe a problem because I see I cannot play b3, I guess, because then knight c4 might come anyway, and there is some tactics because of the unprotected knight. But on the other hand, okay, if I go queen e2, I'm kind of more pinned than before, so that's not so nice. I could play something crazy like knight e2 b5 maybe, but that looks a bit, a bit weird, and I may move another knight for many times, but also there might be the move queen to a4, hitting the bishop, and that actually doesn't look so bad. So I think I'm gonna go with this, protecting the pawn and threatening something.
Yeah, now I realize my mistake. I should have played knight to a5, because then the bishop wouldn't be under attack, and now Jonas is creating a huge problem for me. And that is exactly how he beats so many Grandmasters. He's already an international master. He has his YouTube channel. Feel free to take a look at it. The link would be in the description. But I'm in trouble here. I don't like my bishop there. I guess my only chance is to create a counter threat and attack your knight, but knight a5 would be so much better. I would have just played queen to c7 now, and that wouldn't be such a big problem. And now I don't like it. So that's the golden rule. Before you make your move, knight a5, I was so excited about it, but you still have to think about your opponent's moves. That's what 99% of chess players are doing wrong. They only think about their own plans, and then something like queen a4 comes as a huge surprise. I have no idea what to do about it.
Still, I think black's position is very healthy, and when that's the case in general, then I think you should always try to find a solution, because usually there are some fighting options and you should not give up. Yeah, counter-attacking looks like a good idea. Now I need to think about my knight. I can protect the knight, but also bishop b7 might return. Also c4 is hanging now, so I must be careful about that one. I might play something like knight to b5, but he will just take. Also, I should always check my forcing moves, because we are already very close to a critical situation. There are lots of pieces hanging, so if there is something going wrong, it might go wrong in a very decisive way. Yeah, so this is almost a moment where you should focus really hard. But I think concrete stuff like maybe f4, it's a bit too early, because f4 knight takes 4 might work, and then if I take the bishop, he takes my knight, and if I trade on c4, then the bishop will also be covered. So I think I will go with the most forcing line, taking the bishop first, because it's in general, I think, a good thing.
Have you thought about taking the f-side pawn?
No, I missed that one. Maybe I should have considered this capture as well. Yes, I should definitely have done that.
Like, it's a forcing line, that's why I thought about it, but I'm not sure it's so great, because then my rook is also good along the f-file, so has its drawbacks.
Yes, my plan was actually to go rook d1 quickly, gain some more tempo against the queen, centralize, and maybe at some point in the future I can count on my light square bishop, and maybe also the knight on e5 is running out of good squares, but okay, probably it's not yet the case.
Yeah, it's a very big question, where should the queen go, because all moves has its disadvantages. If I go to c6, I go straight into that bishop on g2, and if I go to c7, then I don't like the bishop f4 pin, so seems like queen c5 is the best square for me. Still, d7 pawn is very vulnerable, and I'm not a big fan of that, but seems like the best option.
Okay, queen c5. maybe I should check the forcing line again. Bishop e3 seems very natural. Then I will drop the c4, but also the d7 will drop. And that must be evaluated a bit. But I don't like that after bishop e3, queen c4, knight c4, rook d7, knight e3, he takes my dark square bishop. So this I don't want to allow. So I should also take care that knight g4 is not too annoying on the next move. So
yeah, that's the main point. You have to make that multi-purpose move. Like queen c5, first of all, it deals with your threats. The queen is no longer under attack. But also I create my own threats, like attacking the c4 pawn and creating this annoying knight g4 idea and stopping your f4 move. So this one move does like 4 different jobs, which is really great.
Yes, so I must find some solution now. Otherwise, I might end up in some trouble here. So what to do?
We also have less than 5 minutes now. We have 10 minutes overall for the game and only 5 seconds increment. So yeah, that's a normal rapid game. And in such a situation, how do you manage your time? How do you decide where to speed up and where to think more?
In general, I think this is something I struggle with, but I think you should not spend too much time on a single move because, yeah, in the end, you will blunder much more when you don't have any time at all than making some inaccuracy beforehand. So that's usually the thing you should do, but it's not so easy. So what to do? I'm gonna stick with bishop to f4. It might have some risk because I allow knight g4, but I'm relying on some answer, which I'm not gonna tell yet. And sometimes you need to do that. And also I'm improving on the bishop e3 line a bit. I think if queen c4, I can just trade it all down and take on d7 afterwards, and there will not be knight to e3, which was my biggest concern. And I think I should be all right there. Knight g4 is a question, but we'll see.
This video is brought to you by Chestnut. Chestnut is making amazing chessboards that allow you to play online from a real 3D board. They have high quality chessboards, nice looking chess pieces, so that you can enjoy and having fun playing it. Chestnut boards also have so many training functions that I absolutely love to use to my training, and it helps me to improve my chess every day. This is, for example, Chestnut Evo. I love to use it for my trainings, but they have so much to offer you depending on your preferences and your budget. And the best part is you can just use the promo code Journey to Grandmaster or click the link in the description to get a big discount on all of the Chestnut products. Yeah, suppose your hidden answer is just rook to e2, or maybe you want to sacrifice all the way and play bishop d6, but I don't think you want to drop that f2 pawn. It's not just the pawn, it's rather about king's safety, and nobody likes to have their king unprotected. For example, knight e3 would be an idea. So I think you want to play rook d2, just protect that, and then I haven't taken my c4 pawn, and you have still all sorts of ideas like bishop d6 in mind.
Yes, that's right. I mean, rook d2, it's very natural, and the knight on g4 is also a bit offside if it's not really getting through on f2. So
maybe I should just take the c4 pawn with the knight, and then the d6 square is covered. Yes, you can take d7, but hopefully it's not such an important pawn for me. And maybe I can even take on b2, opening up my diagonal, creating a counter threat.
That's interesting, but it's also giving me some options of maybe using the fact that the knight on c4 is protected only once, and maybe I can destabilize the queen. Knight a4 is an idea, but queen drops back to maybe c8 and it's all protected. Still, it's an idea, I guess. So I should consider taking d7 immediately.
That was my strategy, to give you so many options that you have to spend a lot of time to think about it, calculate every variations, and then you run out of time. That is the strategy I like to use a lot in the blitz and rapid chess.
Yes. So
because if you play knight g4, you create this very direct but just one threat, and then your opponent has an easy way dealing with it. You just play rook d2, you defend it, and it's not that difficult. You don't waste time.
I can also increase the tension by playing something, and I think I should just play something now because I don't have so much time. So maybe it doesn't work that well. But okay, I have the solid option of going rook d7, which is more or less solid, I think. Or I can play rook a to c1, just setting up a lot of counter threats, but it's getting very messy. And I think it's not yet that desperate that I'm forced to go into such messy things. So I will just take the d7 and see what happens. There might be knight b2, but I think it's not too much of a concern here.
Really? Because I'm looking at knight b2 and I feel very optimistic.
Yeah, maybe, but...
Let me go for it. You don't have a lot of time. I want to grab my pawn. I want to create a threat and let you worry about that. Because I have currently everything protected. And I do attack the knight twice. And also the whole diagonal is kind of open, so your rook might be in trouble.
True. Okay, I have some hopes that bishop d6 might come in at some point. Maybe even immediately. Also, maybe I should protect the knight first, but okay, you might take with the bishop anyway, and then I'm not so sure that my rook on d7 is that great. So I'll stick with this one, bishop d6.
Okay, I have so many different options. I can attack the rook. Now you are doing the same, creating the same challenge for me that I have queen c6, queen c8, queen takes c3. But of course, queen takes c3 is the most forcing line and the most active one, so I absolutely have to start with it. And I am not sure I see any problems with it, because my queen is active, I control that whole diagonal. You don't have rook c1 move now that your bishop is gone. And yes, you take the knight back, but my rook goes away, and then I have an extra pawn. Great.
Yes, that's true.
And maybe I can even try to create some difficulties there on the back rank for you and come back to that idea of attacking the f2 pawn, although you do have a rook to protect it.
Yes, I need to get some counterplay, and maybe I can get the counterplay along the 7th rank also. Also, your rooks lack some squares, but okay, still I think maybe there is some trouble. Yeah, I'm a pawn down, and I need to prove it. So
what I don't like is queen c6. I have noticed that you have a nice opportunity, queen to b5, attacking my queen and protecting your rook. And now...
But I thought that might not work,
maybe bishop
c3.
Yeah, so you always need to continue that variation. You should always try to think, okay, whether there are any checks, captures, and threats later on that can turn around the whole evaluation of the variation.
But it's still not the end. Bishop c3, queen c6, knight c6, bishop f8.
And it's never the end, right?
A lot of pieces along the c file, so that's messy. And okay, black needs to calculate all this. White can calculate it later. White doesn't really need to calculate it right now, because white does not have to play queen b5, but may instead play something like maybe queen b7, maybe bishop e7, maybe rook e7. So white has not yet committed to that, so that's quite different.
Yeah, let me just take the knight. I feel like that is a more flexible move.
Okay, I would take the knight with a tempo against the rook. And
maybe I'm gonna do counter tempo and play knight d3.
Knight d3.
Hitting your rook there, and also eyeballing the f2 pawn. One day that might be an important factor to consider. But
that's interesting, but still...
The knight would be hanging.
The knight would be hanging after I retreat the rook, then the knight would be hanging on d3, and also the rook on f8 still would be hanging, so there might be some trouble there.
Okay, there is a very good principle of not hanging too many pieces, at least at once, so maybe I should just improve my rook, get away from the attack, but I also don't like your e5 idea, because then suddenly my second rook would be also in trouble.
Yes, that was one hope which I had, that e5 might give me some play, because if the rook moves, then the a7 would drop. But in the long run, I will also drop my e5. But still, I think the 7th rank is some source of counterplay. So you go for this anyway.
I want to stabilize the situation, because...
That's interesting. Okay, I think I need to move that rook.
Because I feel like this variation is straightforward, because now I play knight to c5, creating a fork. And I hope you have to take it. And then I deal with my problem with the rook hanging.
Yes, that's right. I probably have to take it. That's something I have not calculated in advance. And now we end up in this opposite color bishop situation. I'm a pawn down, which is not not unsurvivable in an opposite color bishop ending. That's the good thing.
But also they have the queens, and you have the queens.
So
it's about attacking, who is going to create more threats, and so on.
That's right. That's a bit problematic. I would love to have my pawn back on e3 so that f2 wouldn't be that vulnerable, because in opposite color middle games, often kingside attack is one of the major issues, and I really see some trouble coming on f2. So, but first of all, I think it's a good thing to take the pawn, and still black's rook is not yet that active, so I hope to...
It's about to be.
It's about to be active now, yes, that's true, but...
You have only one attacking piece now that I really like, so my king is not that in trouble anymore. Yes. And I hope to be the first one to create threats. So the queens at opposite colors bishops, it's perfect to create your attack, because if I attack on the dark squares, then the queen has no chances, the bishop has no chances of somehow defending. But if we exchange the queens, then of course it's much simpler for the weaker sides to make a draw, because with opposite colors bishops, you almost never get a good chance to win. But now I have a choice. Like, I can put my bishop to d4, which is great there, but then my rook is blocked. Or I can put my rook on d2, but then you have a check and my bishop needs to drop. So my bishop wouldn't be active. I guess I like my rook more to be active.
Yes, I think so too.
It puts a lot of pressure, and my bishop, maybe it's gonna come later.
Yes, now I need to find some idea how I can protect my king, and I think the best way is to get some air for the king, create some space, and in case of bishop d4, just give the pawn but get the king out to safety.
Interesting. So you're not worried about that. I actually, if I were you, I would give a check first, so that is not a problem.
Yes, but then, yeah, maybe, but I was scared that it doesn't work in the long run, so I will just go away with the king and sacrifice this pawn immediately, because if you don't take it, then I might just move it away, even though it would open the second rank.
Now the big question is whether I take it with the rook and with the bishop. So normally if you are attacking, if you want to create threats for the king, you don't want to exchange the pieces. But on the other hand, if I take with the bishop, and then the bishop moves, the f7 pawn would be in trouble and I could get into checkmate. And if I take with the rook and you exchange the rooks, then you can never create too many dangerous threats for me, because you only have the queen in the attack.
So yes, it is safer, but it's also riskier. Maybe less... it's safer, but it's less ambitious to take with the rook, I guess.
Yes, so what do? I mean, I'm not afraid. I want to give you a checkmate, so let me leave more pieces on the board. And also, again, you have so little time. That means it's going to be more difficult for you to deal with this threat. For example, now, I don't see what you are doing after queen e3. Seems like I'm creating the checkmate threat.
Yes, you can do that. And I was relying a bit on queen b3, but that doesn't work. But I see another idea how I can cover it. Maybe like this. It's still possible, but it's not so fun for me here. I must play queen b8, and now...
I must have started with rook d3. I guess that was smarter, because then the rook is attacking, and now I could have just taken it. And you're a little bit annoying with those checks. But still, that's a big problem, right? And you also...
d3.
Yes, I have to play it, otherwise I don't have anything.
I have some check now, and maybe it's... I hope it should... Maybe it's a perpetual or something, but I'm not so sure about that one.
Okay.
Let's see where the king goes.
I actually wanted to play f6.
f6
from the checks. Maybe I'm missing something.
Okay, you want to go to h6. That's fair.
You can never leave the diagonal, because that's a checkmate.
I also don't have queen f4 because the pawn is pinned, so that's looking more and more dangerous now.
Oh, I hide.
So now it's a question. How can I defend in a practical sense? Is there still some hope left? Yes, maybe I can trade the queens.
Wow, that was unexpected. You're gonna love it! I have made a free 30-day training plan so you can finally fulfill your chess potential. Every day you're gonna get an educational video to improve your chess and put your knowledge into practice. I'm so excited to have you in our community, where you have an opportunity to get your game to be fully analyzed by me completely for free. Make sure to secure your free spot before it's too late. The link is in the description.
Yes, maybe it's the last chance, and maybe if queens get traded and I get rook f3, I get a drawing chance in 2 pawns down in opposite color bishop ending.
But then I have to take you.
You have to take your first, yes, okay.
Because now I have spotted this idea with rook takes g3.
Okay, I must go here anyway.
And then rook a3, so that I am attacking 2 of your pawns at the same time. And what I also like, your bishop on g2 is really passive. Yes. So that is always great if you have your pieces active and your opponent has passive pieces, so that...
So I'll go with the counterattack.
You get an advantage. Yeah, that's the problem. But I also like this check on g2.
Yes, if I go to the back rank, it might be fine. Otherwise, I'm inside the covered attack, but I don't yet see it. So, yes, I just made a move with 1 second on the clock, I guess.
But I believe it's also a kind of a checkmate now, or at least you lose your bishop.
Yes, now I'm done. Okay, good game.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was fantastic. Remember to check the channel of Jonas, and I hope you really enjoyed this game. We have shared our strategy here. You see, it's very, very important to attack, to constantly put pressure on your opponent, especially in a time travel situation. So what do you think your biggest mistake in this game was?
My biggest mistake was probably that I did not calculate accurately when it was most important in the situation when my c4 pawn and the b2 dropped. I think that's where the course of the game was decided. Also, I missed the knight d3 to c5 idea, and then I just had to defend a bad endgame, a bad middle game.
If you want a full blueprint how you join the top 1% of the chess players, take a look at this video, because there you're gonna get a concrete strategy from start to finish how to crush your opponent the fastest way.